Yeah, shalom, shalom, everyone. This is Servant R.D. Ramont. Kohaya, Kingdom of Heaven is at hand. I'm with you with another video. I'm kind of late today because I wanted to just wait on the leading of the Spirit. I don't like doing any videos if I'm not led. And the leading and the unction and the push to do this video came late today. And whenever the Father moves upon me through his Spirit to do a video, produce a video, that's when I do it. And so, although it's late, I'm here with the recorded message. Donnell, he had to take care of some business today, and so I'm doing this solo. And the name of this video is YAH'S Fury. We're looking at all this nonsense that's going on in our culture and around the world. We see that police officers are turning up the heat. They're getting worse. We see this so-called 45th president of the United States is just egging on the volatile and anger of one side of the people that do not like what is going on in our world. And so-called 45th president is fueling the fire, reveling up the other side of the spectrum as far as the political arena is concerned. You have police that have infiltrated. Well, you have the police force that's been infiltrated with a bunch of skinheads and Klan members. And you know, I'm reminded of what Paul said in 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, and the 7th verse. He said, the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way. And then it goes on to verse 8 and said, and then the lawless one will be revealed, whom the master Yahushua will slay with the breath of his mouth and annihilate by the majesty of his arrival. We must understand, brothers and sisters, that which held back the spirit that we see is being manifest has allowed this spirit to be released. It moved itself out of the way. And so you see a people that can no longer portray themselves as being movers and shakers. You see people that can no longer withhold and suppress the demonic influence that they are driven by. There is no righteousness in these people. None at all. It's a crime to humanity, and it's a crime to the laws of the universe to be in charge and take full advantage, to fully be in charge and take full advantage of your subjects. And it comes with a harsh, relentless punishment. And this is what we are witnessing, brothers and sisters. This is why I entitled this message, YAH'S Fury. We see the evidence of that which held back that spirit that has now released and let this lawlessness be revealed to all. We see it manifest in the mayor here in St. Louis. The mayor got on the site and before the people and before the public eye and announced individuals that supports the defunding of police. She stood before the masses and gave particular names and addresses. That's the lawlessness that has been released, because she's upset because the world that they have enjoyed for centuries is slipping through their hands like a fistful of sand. We see that a young lady was waiting at a stoplight, and a group of Gentiles drove up next to her, doused her with lighter fluid, and then set her on fire by throwing the match immediately after they doused the lighter fluid on her. That's lawlessness. You see, in Miami Gardens, a police had his knee on this young lady's neck. A young lady, mind you. And he began to tase the young lady. The young lady was pregnant. He must have known that she was pregnant because he began to tase her in her lower abdomen regions. Coming to find out, the young lady lost her child. We see a woman pushing her autistic son into a body of water, then running off, then telling authorities that two black men kidnapped her son. Similar to the Susan Smith story, when she drove her children into a lake and blamed it on black men, Hebrew men. Or the woman that blamed Emmett Till for doing something that he did not do and caused them to mutilate that young man, torture him, pull his eyes out while he was alive. That is a spirit of lawlessness, an evil spirit, a spirit that's not of the Most High that we're dealing with. We witnessed police officers stating that we're going to go all out and slaughter these people, talking about black folks, because they've been commissioned by authorities to play out their lawless behavior. We're seeing all these things unfold. And we must understand that the Father is still in work. The Father still has everything under control. I know it doesn't feel like it. I know that it feels like things have gotten so out of hand that there is no hope, but there is hope. And it's in our Father and Him alone. We see that there were Gentiles that kidnapped these young ladies, these young girls. Someone up in Milwaukee saw them take these young girls in their home. And a mob had accumulated and had gathered, and they marched up on these Gentiles' residence. And they stormed the doors of this residence. They went in and found the young girls inside the home. They called the authorities. Then the next thing you know, they set the house ablaze. They set it on fire. There is something different in the air. And while the mob was out there chanting and protesting, these Gentiles sent a catfish mouth, stepping and fetch it, buck dancing, bojangling, handkerchief head preacher. They ran that preacher up out of there. I told my brother that he's going to witness preachers being chased by lynch mobs. We see the time that is upon us. You have churches that are determined to reopen their churches. You have pastors that are determined to reopen because they need that money. And they're going through great lengths to reopen and get back to having services. They have congregants seated on one row on each end of the pew or each end of the row of chairs. Then the next row is empty. Then they have another row where they sit each other. They are checking people for temperatures as they walk into the edifice. Church, like we had in the past, is not going to be the norm any longer. We are witnessing an array of various changes that are happening right before our eyes. After they have service, they are not allowed to greet one another. They are not allowed to hug one another. They are not allowed to even speak to one another outside of the proximity of 6 feet. But they still want to have service. The Father has moved in because the Father is doing this. He allowed the lawlessness. What was holding this lawlessness back was the Father's Holy Spirit, his agent that go to and fro in the earth, doing the bidding of the Most High. We are witnessing, brothers and sisters, these events that are troubling and bringing people to a point to where they want to retaliate because they are tired. We understand, brothers and sisters, these things are meant, and the Father's, in his infinite dealings with his creation, is doing this, and everything is falling right into place as the Father has ordered it to be so. So, brothers and sisters, I want to let you know that these things are driving us to a point. They're making us very emotional. They are triggering something that's deep within us. All of these incomprehensible killings is what I call it. Cryptic killings, where these killings don't even make any sense. I call it incomprehensible killings because these killings are done to keep us from coming to a cognitive understanding of who we are, what our place is, and whose we are, and what functioning that's been given to us. These are killings that are designed to keep us confused, to keep us from fully coming into the knowledge and understanding of what the Father desires from his people. They are killings to confuse. This is all they know, brothers and sisters. This is all they have. They don't have no other devices and no other tactics that they can use against the Most High. So the Father is allowing them to use all their devices in order to pull out of his children the ingredients that he instilled in them when he made a covenant with his people. See, this covenant that the Father made with the Israelites, with his chosen, with his elect, something was planted within their psyche and within their generation that cannot be removed. It only can be activated, brothers and sisters. We must understand that the Father allowing these feelings to be revved up. He allowing the events, these nefarious acts of terror, he allowing them to stir up the innermost feelings and the innermost passion that we as the children of light have, that the Father gave to us at the time when he made his covenant. There is also something that the Father gave the remnant. The remnant are those that will, at any cost, comply to the commitment that they have with the Most High. They are committed to endure the hardness that comes their way. And believe you me, the Father has allowed his Spirit to unleash. And we are receiving so much wickedness and vileness and depravity that it is stirring up the commitment along with the emotion and feelings and passion that we have for the Father. And the Father is mixing it together and it's producing something, brothers and sisters. It's producing the Father's anger. YAH'S Fury. We haven't been angry enough. We can't develop the anger that is necessary to blend the feelings and the commitment together in order to produce what the Father desires. We don't have the capacity within ourselves to do that, brothers and sisters. It must be done at the hand of the Most High Yah. YAH'S Fury. Brothers and sisters, what we are understanding and what we are witnessing such activities that we have not witnessed before as a people, as a generation. Our foreparents in past time and ancient times, it's nothing new to them. But to us, it's incomprehensible. We don't understand. But we must always keep our eyes and keep our interest and center our attention strictly on the Most High at all times because He's doing it, brothers and sisters. YAH'S Fury. Brothers and sisters, we must understand that this fury that I'm talking about will be developed through the feelings that we have, this remorse. The fury that I'm talking about will be developed through the commitment that we have. Remember, feelings and commitment that will come together. And there will be an oxidation that will take place doing this mixture, doing this fusing together. Brothers and sisters, our Father is awesome. Even through the confusion that we experiencing, even through the heartache and pains and misunderstandings that we are enduring, the Father is still at work. He's a grand weaver. And He's bringing and working and rotting His plan through His people, through these events. YAH'S Fury. Brothers and sisters, Paul told us in Romans, the 13th chapter, and I believe the 11th verse, he said, knowing the time, we must know the time that we're in. We must understand what the Father is doing. See, Paul wanted the Israelites to know when he wrote his letter to the assembly in Rome. He said, knowing the time, he wrote this letter to the Romans, the Hebrews, and all of the Gentile that joined, not took charge, not the ones that wanted to get in the driver's seat, the ones that humbled themselves. Paul wrote to them and told them. First thing he said, knowing the time. You got to know the time, brothers and sisters. What he was saying, the Spirit was speaking through Paul and giving him information in 57 AD. 13 years later, the Israelites experienced something that they did not think would take place. The destruction of Jerusalem, the holy city. They ran for their lives. They experienced all type of vile and harsh and relentless punishment that was inflicted on them. Thrown to lions, Whole families being torn apart. This is our story. They just didn't know. And Paul said, knowing the time. So once again, we come in full circle. We must know the time. They killing like crazy because that's all they have. John 10:10, the thief cometh not but for to steal, kill, and destroy. But I am. That's Yahshua. He say, I am come that you may have life, that they may have life, and that more abundantly. The church has crucified that saying, that this scripture, with their shoddy interpretation and translation of the word, their shoddy application of this scripture. They taught that life more abundantly was a good life within this Gentile, within the land of our enemies. Now you see that they were dead wrong. The Father shut all their churches down. And the president, number 45, so-called, is trying to bring this kingdom back to the way it was prior to March of 2020. It's never going back. The Father is bringing judgment like you never known before. You see, there is a dust storm that has come up from the south into these so-called United States of America. This dust is a dust that was able to subdue and keep its form over the many waters, the oceans and gulfs that's in the pathway and that's in the direction and en route. The dust did not lose its form, but it kept its potency. And now we are witnessing weather here in the Midwest that look like it's in the late time of the fall. Trees are swaying. It's gray out. And this gray looked like the gray of autumn. This judgment, brothers and sisters. The Father has allowed things to take place and allowed these people to continue to do what they do. And all they know how to do is kill and make people's lives miserable. The Father allowed it to pull something out of us, and through that activity, in return, the remnant is crying to him, and now the Father is allowing the elements to respond to our cry. So we see things that's going on. The Father said that he wants us to have his fury. Ezekiel 38:18. We want to bring this out. This scripture that's in Ezekiel. We must understand. Let's start at the first verse. It reads, "And the word of Yahuwah came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog in the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him." When you talk about Gog, you talking about a mindset. When you talk about Gog, you talking about a spirit. Gog is really and literally in Hebrew, it represent a traveler, a nomadic individual. And it also represent this nomadic individual seizing upon a nation. And this nomadic nation that will seize will have double the power, because you got Gog. In Hebrew, you have the phenomena of repetition. The GG, the Gamel represent a people that trotted upon another people and totally subdued them. And so the Father commanded Ezekiel to prophesy against Gog. In verse 3 it says, "And say, Thus saith Yahweh, Most High, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. And I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, and all them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Then it talks about Persia. It talks about Ethiopia. It talks about Libya. And it talks about them having shields and helmets. It goes on to talk about all different other regions, Sheba and Dedan, when you look at verse 13. And we see that all these nations are comprised. It's one. So Gog is not one particular location like Christian doctrine taught us. Christian doctrine said Gog is Russia and Iran. No. They had our book for too long. They had it for a long time. Now it's time to give it up. But let me, for the sake of time, move on down to verse 18. Let me start at 17. Thus saith Yahweh Most High, art thou he whom I have spoken in old time by the servant, the prophets of Israel, which prophesied in those days many years that I would bring thee against them? And it shall come to pass at the same time when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, saith Yahweh of Yahweh Most High, that my fury shall come up in my face. For in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel, so that the fish of the sea and the fowls of the heavens and the beasts of the field and all creeping things that creep upon the earth and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. And I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, saith Yahweh, high power. Every man's sword shall be against his brother, and I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood, and I will rain upon him and upon his bands and upon the many people that are with him, an overflowing rain and great hailstone, fire and brimstone. And I will magnify myself and sanctify myself, and I will be known in the eyes of many nations, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah. This is what the Father is doing, brothers and sisters. The Gentiles have took on the cloak and the camouflage of all nations of Esau. This is why many people in the Hebraic walk call them Esau. No, they also took on the identification of the natives. They took on the identification of the Hebrews and called themselves Jews. They took on the identification of the Egyptians. Don't you remember 10 Commandments? And all of the movies, Cleopatra and all of the movies of this region played by a bunch of Gentiles. What about the term Egyptology, the study of Egypt? How come you never heard of Europology? They studied Egypt. They took on the form of Mayans. Don't you remember the sitcom I Dream of Jeannie? Barbara Eden was from that land, and she posed herself as Arab. Some of them even pose themselves as India. They have taken on and profit from all of the indigenous people throughout the time. And so Gog is identified as these heathens, and the spirit that's in them understand that they must continue and they must increase their cryptic killings to keep the people confused and confounded. But we got Ezekiel 38 and verse 18. And it shall come to pass at the same time when God shall come against the land of Israel, saith Yahweh Most High, or Yahweh Elohim, that my fury shall come upon my face, for my jealousy and fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel. The Father say he's going to bring his fury upon the face. He's going to bring his fury upon his children. He's going to bring his fury upon his elect. How's that going to happen? It's going to happen through the process of what we are witnessing. The killings, the mistreatment, the villainous behavior. This is what we are witnessing, brothers and sisters. Father is pulling something out of us because the Father gives the kingdom to whomever he will, as it says in Daniel 4 and 17. It talks about how the Father give his kingdom to whomever. Let me turn to it real quick. This is a session, I need to take my time and finish it off. And so you can follow whenever you have time. Daniel 4 and 17. It reads on this wise. Daniel 4 and 17. This decision is the decree of the watchers, the verdict declared by the holy ones, so that the living would know that the Most High is ruler over the kingdoms of mankind and gives it to whom he wishes, setting over it the lowliness of men. He set this kingdom up over the lowliness of the Gentile, the lowliness of those that have now been identified as Gog. It's not just Russia. They tried to hide themselves. They tried to seclude themselves. They tried to feign themselves, thinking they was going to escape their judgment. But they've been identified. And the Father said he'd give his kingdom. He told Daniel to tell Nebuchadnezzar that, even to Nebuchadnezzar, he told him, the Father gave you this kingdom. And we telling the Gentiles today, the Father gave you this kingdom. But what y'all failed to realize, that there was a responsibility that came along with the handing of this kingdom over to you. You are obligated and liable to rule according to, because the Father gave it to you. He got rules, statutes, and commandments that he want anyone that he allowed to run the kingdom to adhere to, and you didn't do it. As a matter of fact, you totally disregarded. When the Father gave you this kingdom, he ordered you to handle it properly and appropriately. He wanted you to justly rule, but you didn't do it. And it's evident. Look what you're doing. The Father is allowing your actions to be seen through the whole world. Don't you know that a huge case, a huge court case is being played out in the universe, and everybody see what you're doing? There will be no remorse when the feelings and the commitment is fused as one. That will produce the Father's fury in the earth. There will be no mercy when the judgment come crashing and piling and toppling and raining down on you. We tried to tell you, but you don't want to listen. The Father's fury was found in Joshua, the 7th chapter in the 25th verse, when they went to Ai, which was a small territory to conquer after they conquered Jericho. And they got their rear ends. The Israelites got their rear ends handed to them, and they went back and they cried to the Father, and the Father said, get up. Don't cry to me. Quit praying. Quit crying to me. Get up and execute judgment. And they had to find a man that took all the goods. And the Father said, I don't want you to take no goods. I want you to utterly destroy Ai. They took the goods. And the Father executed judgment. That was his anger. They took stones. They took the man that took the goods, took his wife, took his children, put them all together as one, and all of Israel stoned all of them. Him, his wife, his children. Now, if this happened in Israel, what in the world you think going to happen to the Gentiles that just consistently defy the order of the Most High? What do you think going to happen? 2 Kings 2:23, when Elisha was going up and kids came out and mocked him, calling him, saying, go up, you bald-headed Negro, go up. Elisha turned around and cursed them, and 2 bears came out of the wood and just tore those children from limb to limb. We talking about Yah's anger. 1 Samuel 15 chapter and verse 33, where Samuel had ordered Saul to go in and fight the Amalekites and subdue them and utterly destroy them. Amalekites been on the children of Israel's case all the way from the time they was in Genesis. Children of Amalek steady on the children of Israel, wreaking havoc. And the Father came in and told Samuel to tell Saul to utterly destroy. Samuel went, destroyed some, took some of the women because they were fine, took some of the goods because they were flourishing, and brought them back to Israel. And the Father said, up and go to Saul. He went to Saul and told Saul, didn't the Father tell you to utterly destroy? Why are you still defiant against the Father? Just like you Gentiles, why you continue to defy against the Father's order? Even Saul took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, as a hostage when the Father told him to destroy. And guess what? The fury of Yah came up on Samuel. And Samuel went to Agag, the king of the Amalekites, and hacked him into pieces. Do you know how much blood that was spewing out all over the place? We talking about Yah's anger. Gentile, you bringing it up on yourself. You wayward Hebrews, you ain't too far from them. Yah's anger. How about the time when the boy cursed the name of the Most High in Leviticus, the 24th chapter and the 23rd verse? Father heard the boy curse, and there were witnesses, and the Father said, bring out that young man that cursed. When they brought him out, all of Israel took stones and stoned that man to death just for cursing the name of the Most High. Y'all think this is a game. Y'all think that by killing that you're doing something. Y'all think by increasing your oppression that you are doing something. You are in error and you are in violation of the Most High Yah. And ain't nothing none of us can do about it when your anger comes crashing down on you. So, what we are witnessing, the fury of the Most High, when he said, my fury, he was talking about his strong hand. And the strong hand would be on the sea of people. And his law would be executed on these people. And that strong hand will utterly destroy these people. They are digging a hole that they will have no way to come out of it. They at the point of no return. Yah's anger knows no bounds. Yah will come all out of bounds on you, Gentile. Don't you know? You will soon find out. He tore us from limb to limb, and we are his children. What do you think going to happen to those that consistently defy his order? It's nothing but one punishment from you, and the Father will come raining it down. Revelation 19:4. And I'm going to let you go. I'm done. I said what I had to say. I gave the message that the Father had given me to give. And now we getting ready to read Revelation 19:4. It reads on this wise. Let me start at verse 14. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. He's going to be iron-handed. A rod of iron means harsh rulership, relentless rulership. You thought you was doing something when you cracked the whip. Wait till Yahshua crack that whip on your behind. This is what's coming. The Father ain't playing. He ain't playing. The people thinking he playing games. All right, you will see. That dust storm is bringing plagues into this land like we never known before. Right now, Gentiles are trying to concoct some type of atrocious and some type of depraved act. They are trying to concoct some type of depraved act for their so-called holiday, the 4th of July, because you know, in the time past the 4th of July, they had Hebrews setting them on fire for entertainment and allowing them to run. They done a lot of stuff. And right now they planning so Hebrews keep your interest centered on the Most High. Continue to stay in this will and continue to pursue him. Because these Gentiles, they planning something, but they planning it to their demise. We're not going back. This is 2020. And 2020 came in with a bang. 2020 came in March of this, a few months ago in March. And we see that it's been hitting like hard steel. And the momentum is picking up. Let me finish this so I can let you go. Revelation 19:15. Out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, and with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. He should tread the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty Yahuwah. The fierceness and wrath, that's Yah's anger. I'm here to tell you, brothers and sisters, this ain't my anger. This ain't his anger. This ain't her anger. We can't get angry enough. For the longest time, we forgive you. We tried our best to forgive. We tried our best to live in harmony. We tried our best. This one young lady said, we're not asking for, y'all lucky that we're not asking for revenge. We just asking for equality or something like that. No. Revenge is all through the Bible. Revenge is all through his word. That's something, the wayward thinking and wayward logic that somebody come up. This doesn't have anything to do with us. This have everything to do with the spirit that's working in them and the spirit that's working in us. I touched on it on the message, becoming. You becoming like them or you becoming like us. It's a spirit. And the Father's at war with the spirit. and it's manifest through people. And if we of him, it will be manifest through us. His anger and his fury will be manifest through us. How would it be manifest through us? It will be manifest through us as we get so stirred up in our feelings, in our commitments, and it come together, and it will oxidize into something supernatural. And this will bring on the events, even the events of the Messiah returning on his horse, as it says in Revelation 19:16. And he had on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Messiah, or Master of Master. And I saw an angel standing on the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourself together unto the sup of the great Elohim, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. And I saw a beast, and the kings of the earth, and their armies, gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse, and against his army. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worship his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. And the remnant was slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. That's Yah's anger, brothers and sisters. So this is encouragement to you. Don't trip too hard. Understand, the Grand Weaver is routing out those feelings and passions along with commitment and the covenant. And he's mixing it together. And it's producing all the things, all the revenge acts that was discussed in his message. It's producing all of that. Because this is the Father's doing. And it is wonderful and marvelous in our eyes. Servant R.D. Ramat. Shalom.